We just finished our Ruth series last week. Thank you guys for joining us and singing Big House. Was that in everybody's heads this week? Did anyone say that was in your head and you couldn't get it out? Not very many. I'm kind of surprised. It was in my head. Janelle, yeah, and our whole family's walking around singing it. So anyway, that was fun. Thank you for joining us in that revelry. This morning, we're going to do something completely different. This morning's sermon is going to double as also kind of a family meeting, I feel like. I want to talk about what happens in a crisis of faith. And I'm about to be talking publicly on this topic a lot because I've just written a book about it with my friend Catherine McNeil, and it comes out like this week, which is great, but we spent the last 3 years discussing and writing and editing, and it finally comes out on Tuesday. And don't worry, this is not a commercial for this book. We're not selling them. In the hallway, somebody asked, and I just had visions of Jesus with a whip, and I said, I just can't do that. I'm sorry. But I want to share this topic with you guys as my church family this morning because it's a very personal topic. It can bring up a lot of emotions. We all have people in our lives who are going through a bit of a crisis of faith. Some have used the word deconstruction, and people tend to form ranks when you talk about that. When that word comes up, they quickly form ranks on whether or not it's even a good thing to ask these kinds of questions. And so it's an emotional topic. So I want to start by saying this. A crisis of faith does not belong squarely in the deconstruction conversation, because a crisis of faith is not something a person is actively choosing. Okay? Does that make sense? Let me start with a biblical example. Thank you, by the way, Amber, for giving me this yesterday. Matthew 11, verses 2 and 3. John the Baptist, who was in prison, when he heard about the deeds of the Messiah, he sent the disciples to go ask him, "Are you the one who is to come, or should we expect someone else?" Now, this is John the Baptist. This is the cousin of Jesus. Like, they had real history. John was the one who literally baptized Jesus, and when he did, the Holy Spirit descended in the form of a dove, and a voice spoke from heaven, "This is my son, in whom I am well pleased." They had real history. John told his disciples, "Go follow him instead. I need to decrease. He needs to increase." He knew Jesus. He believed in Jesus. And here he is now, not so sure anymore. And are you the one? Or is it someone else? Now, if I was Jesus, what a dumb way to start a sentence. If I was Jesus, I would have been like, "Come on, man. Like, what do you mean? Am I the one? What are you talking about? Like, how could you ask this question?" But Jesus doesn't respond that way. As we'll see later, he has compassion for his cousin because John was in a really difficult spot. John was in prison. Like, he knew he was going to face hard times in being a follower of Christ, but being arrested by Herod and kept in his dungeon, like, that's a little more than he bargained for. Like, he's probably I didn't think I would have to decrease that much. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a lot of decreasing. So now he has these doubts. He has this huge question. Was I wrong? Because I've staked my entire life on this man being the Messiah. Was I wrong? Now let me ask you, do you think this is a question John wants to be asking right now? Do you think he foresaw, man, one day I'm going to throw it all away right before my death? I think this is the opposite. I think this is something probably that's been gnawing at him, and he's like, like this rock in his stomach that he just can't ignore. And finally, after many sleepless nights, finally he just has to ask the question that's laying at the center of his soul. I think it's a very painful place to be. Sometimes questions come for us, you guys. Sometimes we Yes, maybe it's true sometimes people are like, I want to ask all these questions because I want out. That's not what this is. Sometimes the questions come for us and we don't ask for them. John is not actively deconstructing. He's having a crisis of faith. And I think many times when we talk about, even when we bring up this word deconstruction, we assume it's because a person is actively looking for a way out. I think that's actually unfair to them in the first place. But a crisis of faith comes at you when you do want it and when you don't want it. Like it eats away at you. You could be sitting in church week after week, going through the motions, praying, all the while something inside of you, even while you worship, is wondering and asking questions you don't actually want to ask. You would love to just be, But it's disorientating. Disorienting. Disorientating is not a word. But it turns out, if you felt that or if you are feeling that, it turns out you're not alone. You're not alone. Over the years, there have been a number of researchers of religion and life who have sought to understand the development of a person's spiritual life. And they thought, well, you have these obvious stages of human development, right? And early childhood and puberty and adult. You have all these things that are very normal. I said, is there anything like that in a person's spiritual life? So there were tons of studies done and surveys done, and they don't all say exactly the same thing, but most of them come to something like this. You start with a thing called inherited faith, or that's what we call it in the book, inherited faith, which is, well, that's pretty straightforward. You inherit it. Many of you who were raised in the church, like me, maybe you had parents who loved Jesus, and so they tell you about God, and they tell you about God's love, and so you form a picture. You know what God looks like. He's big and old and has a beard, and he sounds like Morgan Freeman. Like, boom, we got it. We got this. The devil has horns, Jesus is always smiling. Like, you've got these things. It's very simple. And you are going off squarely what you have been told. And so that lasts, for some time in childhood where everything, it's not really your faith, it's your parents' faith or it's your community's faith. So if you're looking at John the Baptist, like he definitely would have had a lot of inherited faith. His parents would have been reading from the Torah, praying from the Torah since he was very little. Also, they would have probably told the story of his birth and the miraculous birth of his cousin. They probably would have told them about gold, frankincense, and myrrh, or about Mary's visit to Elizabeth, his own mother. Like, he would have had these things, and here are the stories I have been given. Therefore, John, you are the voice crying in the wilderness. That's who you're going to become. And at some point in his childhood, it probably clicks, and he says, yes, that's right. This is my faith. This isn't just the faith of Elizabeth and Zechariah. This is now the faith of John as well. And he takes that and embraces that, right? And he takes this on. I know who I am now. So that stage is confident faith. It's not your parents' faith anymore. It's yours. You've chosen it. And here's where we have identity. This is who we understand ourselves. This is who we are. Now, that is a beautiful stage. And it for some people can just last the rest of their lives, which is beautiful. But it doesn't with John, because something happens that upturns his expectations. And that is prison and probably death, and I don't know what's going on out there. All of that gets in the way of what he thought was going to happen and forces him to ask the question, was I wrong in the thing that I inherited? Is that thing actually true? Well, we call that mid-faith. Very convenient. And this is a stage that is identified over and over again by researchers of religious life, over and over again. And it's actually not even just like evangelical Christianity. They see this in all different types of faith, where somebody hits a wall and then goes, wait a minute, whoa, what's happening? This used to make sense, it doesn't make sense anymore. Or I'm not sure if it makes sense, what do I do now? That hitting a wall. Now, we have a joke about this. we talk about a midlife crisis. Midlife crisis, it's a bit of a joke. Everybody thinks about the sports car and the frosted tips, Like, Like, what are you doing? And it's when somebody, it's kind of an expected thing, kind of like it's a joke, but it's not fully a joke. Like I've been in a midlife crisis for like 15 years, and haven't been able to afford the sports car yet, but there's been a lot of those things. Like, wait a minute, my wife is probably so sick of hearing that. Am I off schedule? Am I behind schedule? What's happening? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be? This kind of thing. These questions come up. We expect that to happen. So we use the term mid-faith crisis because this often does happen in midlife. Not all the time, but often in midlife when you're going, wait a minute, this isn't what I expected about my spiritual life. I was told God always heals. Maybe some of you were told God always heals. And then you lose someone? You're diagnosed with something? It happens all different ways. This is not what I expected. I appreciated how Josh introduced the song this morning. I appreciate the way you said that. That was really like we could easily take those words. You're never going to let me down, and it's always kind of troubled me honestly when we sing it because I'm like, I hope people know that doesn't mean they're not going to feel let down because you will feel that let down. You will. And so I appreciate that framing of it. God will still be good, but there will be times probably that you're going to hit a wall. Now, maybe that's happened to you. Maybe that's never happened to you. Now, fortunately, there's more after this, okay? There's more. But John's experience of like spiritual vertigo, that's how I think of it, like spiritual vertigo. John's experience is so common, you guys, that researchers are saying it's expected. And in my experience, that holds up. It's normal, and it's almost expected that at some point, this might be your experience on some level. So some of you guys are probably sitting there thinking, man, I can relate to this stage, because that's where I am right now. I have questions, I have doubts, I have frustrations. I'm fully going through the motions, but I don't know what to believe anymore. Now, if that's you, I want you to raise... No, I'm just kidding. Don't raise your hand. If that's you, I want you to know you're not weird. Okay? You're not weird. You're not abnormal. You're not extra broken. You are a person. You are a person of faith who is on a journey. You're experiencing something millions of faithful followers of Jesus Christ have experienced on their own journeys, and they came out on the other side. Friend, you're not alone. Now again, I'm not suggesting this happens to every person. I'm simply saying it happens to many, if not most, on their spiritual journey. If you have lived a long life and never experienced a crisis of faith, God bless you. I wish I could bottle that. But I can't. And I want to encourage you, if you have not experienced it and you see someone else experiencing it, please don't assume that that person can just wish away their crisis, okay? They can go through the motions, they will fail. That's called denial. That's what that is. No, I don't have any, there's no problem here. God's good. God, man, praise God. Woo! You ever done that? Oh, I did that. When I first came here, I remember sitting in Joshua's office week after week. He's talking me through my own depression and like, ugh. And he would ask me something, oh, no, it's good, man. I'm doing well. It's hard, but God's good. And he's looking at me, just seeing right through me. He's like, yeah, well, you're getting the right answers, but you're skipping the entire process, dude. He was right. He was right. It's far healthier to identify the questions and the doubts in our hearts, even if it's scary and painful, than it is to pretend they're not there in the first place. And many people have been told to shut their doubts away. Man, what's wrong with you? Just believe. And they spend decades play acting for the sake of those who aren't afflicted with the same kinds of problems. When we were kids, we all had moments when we realized to our horror that our teeth were falling out of our head. Like, oh no, Mom, there's a real terrible problem happening. And our mom talked us down. It's okay. They're all gonna fall out. What about Cheetos? No, it's okay. Not all at once. You'll still be able to eat your Cheetos. So what did mom do? She didn't overreact. She didn't panic. She helped stop the bleeding. And she helped us walk through this phase of having really funny looking school photos, right? It was an expected season of life. If you're going through inner turmoil regarding your spiritual life, friend, you need to hear me. You're not alone. In fact, you might be right on schedule. Do you hear me? This might actually lead to something greater. Because there is a stage after this phase of life. There is something else beyond it. Our faith can continue in a stronger form than we had before. Because we invite the mystery of God where we stop trying to understand everything, but we hold on to his goodness and what we see. There's more freedom there. So, why do people experience a crisis of faith? Well, in the book, we spend most of it having a chapter on each individual one of these things, but one of those is church hurt. Some things have happened to people in the church by people who claim to love God, and they're not good things. Now, sometimes they're big, like systematic problems, and then sometimes they're small and relational because we're complicated people. I'm quite certain people have left this congregation out of hurt. It happens everywhere. I know I've unintentionally hurt people. Years ago, I met with a young man for over a season and thought I did a pretty good job until I started looking back on it like 10 years later. And I was mortified by what I realized. I was like, oh my gosh, I really was heavy-handed. And I think I probably brought a lot of shame to him. He had left and he had come back to visit years later. And I sat down with him and I said, bro, I have just recently realized how this must have affected you. What was happening is I had all this stuff in me that I hadn't dealt with yet. And I think that leaked out all over you. And I am so sorry. And the minute I said that, he started weeping because it had indeed wounded him. Now, that wasn't intentional, but that was a very real thing. And I'm a pastor. You see? So he's walking through this. It's only by the grace of God I'm so thankful that he actually had stayed in fellowship with other believers during that season, because he might have walked away because of what I did. Having been hurt in the church is a real valid reason why some people have a crisis of faith. Others are scandals. Scandals, fallen heroes. I don't know if you've watched the news the past decade. For me, when the news about Ravi Zacharias broke, it broke me. It broke me. He was a spiritual hero. He was a legend. And I looked up to him so much, and it was such a gut punch to realize this wasn't just, he just slipped and fell. No. For years and years, he was actively, intentionally misleading everybody and abusing women around the world under the guise of his being a spiritual man of God. It was horrible. And there have been so many things like that, even in the past couple of years. It's been ugly. And when you see those kinds of things, now that didn't knock me completely off, but many people it does as they are in closer proximity. Maybe they work underneath somebody. Maybe they work in an organization where the head guy has a great fall. We know people who have worked in IHOP KC and the very public fall of Mike Bickle. I'm just using names because they're like wide open in the news, right? They're out there. So people see these things and you think, goodness, and some people have a real crisis of faith. Other things that cause crisis of faith, some of it are just like natural, like walk in life, like my prayer life doesn't work like it used to be, Like this seemed like it fit in this stage of life, and now I don't feel anything when I'm talking to God. I don't feel the presence of God. What do I do with that? Or sometimes it's because of disillusionment. Some people being frustrated with how the church is acting here or here. A lot of people in recent years have walked away thinking, man, I thought the church was about Jesus, but it's about politics more. Like, what's going on there? There's lots of people who have walked away for many different reasons. Now, you might not think those are valid reasons. I understand. But for a person who's in the middle of it, you are experiencing, or they're experiencing something that you evidently are not. And it's a real crisis. So many reasons, but the most common reason I think people have a crisis of faith is sheer suffering. We wrote this book, or it was born out of my own experience in my own crisis of faith. My family had a rather protracted season of really hard stuff. Some of you guys have been in those kinds of seasons, where it's like this person is in the hospital. And then this relationship just blew up. Oh, great, this dear one in my life just died. Okay. And now we have a diagnosis and a financial crisis. Anybody ever been in those kinds of seasons? Where it's just like, oh my goodness, when it rains, it pours. Yeah. Well, I was in one of those sort of barrages, things kept coming. And I was relatively prepared. I had written a previous book on unanswered prayer. Following God through the land of unanswered prayer is what the subtitle of Aching Joy, right? I was ready for that. I didn't have illusions that we're going to be evacuated from suffering. In this world, we will have trouble. I know I was ready. But sometimes you think you're ready, and then one specific thing happens, and it, things here, and then it hits you here, Just knowing something here doesn't protect you from getting hit here. And for me, that was the loss of Janae. We have a picture. Yeah. Many of you knew Janae. She was such an extravagant person, sometimes too extravagant. She had no boundaries for herself, you guys. The thing I always remember is she was living with us, and she wakes up, and she walks over to the coffee maker, and she'd be like, some of you guys know her, just hair on her face, and gets coffee. I'm like, oh, how was sleep? She's like, Jason, Lisa called me from Latvia at 2:45, and she talked till 5:30. Because she was a missionary, so she had friends all over the world. I said, Janae, this is like 3 nights in a row. She goes, I know, but Jason, hey, what am I supposed to do, not answer the phone? She always answered the phone. Always answered the phone. And then she got cancer. And we all prayed and prayed. But God didn't answer the phone. In the months after her death, I was fine. We were fine. We're fine. It's good. We're fine. Yeah, we're good. We're fine. And then we weren't. Then I wasn't. And sometimes things come in waves, where it makes sense. I know how to frame this now. Okay. And then, oh gosh, the questions come and you push them down. No. God is good. God is still good. No, I'm good. It's all right. I don't know. She was only 43. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know. Now my kids, she was their auntie, and they don't have her anymore. But you know what? It's good, and you keep doing this. That's what happened. It was doubt. Not necessarily doubt in God's existence, but doubt in my own sense of certainty. It scared me because I didn't want the questions, I staked my entire life and my livelihood on being a minister of the gospel. It's all I know how to do. I kept thinking, this would devastate me, and I literally don't know how we would continue. I don't know what I would do if I lost my faith. But see, guys, this is actually something where sometimes our talk about deconstruction gets really harmful. I want you to hear this. If we talk about doubt and deconstruction as if they inevitably lead to walking away from God, then we are setting people up to fail mightily. We're setting them up to think that one doubt can bring down the whole edifice. As if one honest question, if you speak it aloud, oh no, now they've gone and deconstructed, they're gone. Stinking media. That's what happens. Well, that was the fear that I had in my heart. That because I wasn't sure what to do here, because I was experiencing uncertainty and a question, my fear was like, am I at the beginning of the end? Is this it? Am I going to lose because I hadn't lost my faith, but I was afraid I was going to. Are you with me? I'm not going to exaggerate how bad it got. I never stopped believing in God. I never stopped serving Christ. But I stopped being sure I was right about the whole thing, you know? And that brought this fear that it was already over. You know, I was on the slippery slope. Please don't reinforce that narrative, okay? If someone's questioning, don't spell the end for them. So what did I do? Well, I found people to be honest to. I didn't feel like I could talk about it even to my colleagues, even though I'm really close to my colleagues. Like Janelle and Joshua and Mark and Jeff and Carly. I didn't feel like I could talk about this particular thing. I feel like I could confess all kinds of sin, but it was this thing, which is so weird, isn't it? If this thing felt like even more dangerous, you confess doubt. That feels, that's like almost a bigger thing. That's the way it felt. So I ended up talking to a man named Jeff. He's been my spiritual director for some years now, which is kind of like a mix between a counselor and a personal pastor, sort of, you know? And he had met with me for a long time, and so finally I went in and I just laid it all out there. I just dumped it out, and I was a mess because I was scared. I was so scared. And I told him, I said, man, I was prepping a sermon this week, and as I'm writing, I'm like, is this true? Do I still believe this is true? And I just got hit with this, like, oh my goodness, like, I do believe it's true, but not like at 100% anymore. I feel like I'm like 70 maybe? And I kept going because this is what faithfulness is. Sometimes you keep putting one foot in front of the other. You keep putting one foot in front of the other. And I got here on Sunday and I preached, and all that like confidence came back. But when I was done, I was reflecting on it, thinking, this scares me. And I came and I asked Jeff, my spiritual director, I said, what if my confidence level is only like at a 50% on a given day? How much faith do I have to have for it to be real? And I'll never forget. See, Jeff usually just waits and looks at me and nods and has these long, awkward silences that always tend to flesh out real good stuff. He didn't wait that time. Have a friend that will sit and look at you awkwardly. It's good. He didn't wait. I asked, how much faith is enough for it to be real? And he quickly responded, well, a mustard seed isn't very much. A mustard seed isn't very much. Jesus said, if you have the faith as small as a mustard seed, you can move mountains. Move from here and it'll move. I always thought about that in terms of how powerful it was, but think about those entrance requirements. That's not very much, is it? That day was a real turning point for me, you guys. Not because everything suddenly got better in my life. In fact, it got worse. It got worse. We went through even harder stuff that we haven't talked about up here, but really, really difficult stuff. And I stopped. But the thing that changed, though, was I stopped defining my faithfulness by my level of intellectual certainty. Because that's a terrible definition for faithfulness. The existence of Jesus Christ is not dependent on how strong my beliefs feel on a day-to-day basis, nor yours. Our experiences change, our emotions will fluctuate. Some days the doubts are going to return. I hate to tell you. But you know what, friends? That's okay. Jesus is still there. Jesus is still there. He's not like, remember Peter Pan? You know, it's like, I do believe in fairies, I do believe in fairies. Try to make Tinkerbell stay, like it's like Tinkerbell's existence depends on that level of like, oh, can I muster up enough belief? I think sometimes we think that Jesus is like that. You don't have to have full conviction for him to be around. I wonder sometimes like, hey, it's okay, bud. You know, just like, So I settled down after that. And I did not walk away. You see, so it can be done. It can be done. I clung to Jesus. And I wonder, looking back, if Jeff's words actually saved my faith. When a person is struggling like this, I want to ask something of you, my dear brothers and sisters, who are not struggling. Because we have a whole mix in here. We have some who feel totally fine and we're going like, why is he talking about this? Like, is he introduced something? Is he introducing something nobody's feeling? No? It's actually many are, but that means you're not dealing with it. Praise God. You might not even need to read the book. This might be enough for you, okay? Nobody has to read the book. Now I feel like, okay, that just got awkward. All right. My dear brothers and sisters, if you're not struggling, please walk alongside those who are. That means don't try to rush in and get them back in line. That can be a huge temptation, especially if you're a parent and it's your kid. Believe me. Because not all my kids are following Jesus. We have to play the long game. Many of you are in the same place. We have to play the long game. Jesus walks with us. He's patient with us. He's been faithful to us to return. So we just stay faithful. We play the long game. We walk alongside one another. I'm not suggesting don't process anything with people. I'm saying that you might be tempted to rush in with quick fixes, okay? For example, oh, you're hurting? Oh, you're hurting. Well, God never gives you anything you can't handle. Please never say those words. Just take that out of your vocabulary. It's not in the Bible. It's just on a whole bunch of memes, probably attributed to C.S. Lewis, because people attribute everything to C.S. Lewis. It's not true, okay? We often get things we cannot handle. So leave the platitudes alone and just throw that one away. But leave the other ones that are true. Other things, sometimes it can be defensive arguments, like, oh, you're dealing with church hurt? Well, why are you blaming the church? Everybody hurts people in every sphere. You don't walk out of the library when the lady with the glasses shushes you. What's wrong with you? Okay? There is some truth in that, isn't there? There's some truth in that, but it's not particularly helpful when somebody's in the middle of actual pain. Don't dismiss their disorientation and pain. That's not helpful. Or it can be things like, oh, you're doubting? Well, you need some apologetics, baby. Here's a link from Wes Huff on YouTube. Here's a book no, actually, that's a book by Ravi Zacharias. Don't read that one. It gets complicated, doesn't it? Here's a man with all the answers. He's got all the apologetic answers. Oh, yeah, see, because it's not all about answers, is it? It's not all about that. Apologetics is not always the time. It's not always the solution for a person who doesn't have answers. Even speaking of Ravi, the scandals. You could say to someone who's struggling with that, it's like, hey, there's scandals everywhere. Why does this bother you? There's scandals in all different in academia and Hollywood and everything else. And I don't think that's a helpful response either. Even though there's some truth in that, because honestly, their response, their anger, their hurt, their shock toward the scandals might actually be a healthier response than you're exhibiting. Sometimes you need the perspective of the person who's questioning. Sometimes they might be in a more righteous place than you are. And I think many who have minimized the scandals have not had the heart of God as much as the person who is grappling and bleeding and in pain because of it. Jesus spoke gently to doubters, you guys. He didn't rebuke John for his question. He gently responded to him, reporting how God was moving, in a cryptic way. He basically said, yes, John, I am the one who's been prophesied. He was gentle with Thomas when Thomas doubted after the resurrection. When Thomas said, unless I put my finger in his wounds, I won't believe. Jesus didn't hightail it over to him. He waited a whole week before he actually appeared to Thomas. You know that? He let Thomas sit in that uncertainty for a whole week before he appeared. Brothers and sisters who are not struggling in this way, let your posture be like Jesus. Patient, caring, walking alongside with understanding and prayer. Worship team, can you come back? And I want to say again now to you who are struggling in one of these areas, privately haunted, maybe by doubts or mysteries, please, I urge you, friends, don't struggle alone. Don't just walk away. That hurts my heart when I just find out somebody just dropped off the map and dropped out of the faith and I didn't even know. You know, like, this is why we're here, like, to help people walk alongside in the spiritual lives. Please don't walk and drop out. I would love to share your story. I would love to share to help you shoulder the weight of whatever it is you're going through. I know I speak for the rest of the staff to say the same. And many others in here I know would love to help you. Please, if you're grappling, do not grapple alone. Instead, let your posture be like the poor father in Mark 9 who was asking Jesus to deliver his son from an evil spirit. Mark 9:22. He said, the spirit's often thrown him, be my son, into the fire or water to kill him. But if you can do anything, Jesus, take pity on us and help us. If you can, said Jesus, everything is possible for one who believes. Immediately, the boy's father exclaimed, I do believe. Help me overcome my unbelief. You guys, that's a beautiful heart. And we're always free to confess that. Jesus, I do believe. I don't even know what my percentage. Please help me with my unbelief. Please help me. Please be patient with me. Please walk with me so that I can see you clearly again. You don't have to believe perfectly. It's okay if you don't. Tell him where you're at. Ask for your help. Be honest. God hears this prayer, you guys. God honors it. And though it might take time, he's going to come through. We're going to sing this song again. It's not Big House, don't worry, there's no emotions. It's the song, Your Heart Won't Stop. Because even in the midst of our deepest doubts, God keeps on pursuing us. Even if we're totally haunted, God keeps working. He stays close. He hasn't forgotten you, friends. He hasn't forgotten you in the midst of doubt, in the midst of disillusionment, in the midst of your fear. He's right with you. Let's sing that first verse, the chorus.
There is not a man or a beast, sing with me, nothing in the land or underneath, or nothing that could ever come between the love you have for me. Sing that again. There is not a man or a beast, nothing on the land or underneath, or nothing that could ever come between the love you have for me. I could lay my head in Sheol, I could make my bed at the bottom of the darkness deep. Oh, but there is not a place I could escape you. Your heart won't stop coming after me. Your heart won't stop coming after me. Coming after me. Your heart won't stop coming after me. Sing that again. Your heart won't stop coming after me. Coming after me. Your heart won't stop coming after me. Coming after me. Your heart won't stop coming after me.
Could we get the prayer team to come forward, please? Isn't that so comforting to know that his heart won't stop coming after us in these places that Jason has talked about today, that we all can identify with some of it, right? He won't stop coming after you. If you're in that place today of doubt or uncertainty, or maybe right on the cusp of, throwing up your hands with this churchy stuff, I want to invite you to talk about it, to talk about these things. When I hear Jason tell this story again, I'm like, oh, I knew something was going on. Why didn't I reach out to him about this? But I didn't know, and it's okay. It's part of his journey. But I want to encourage us today. Let's talk about this stuff. Let's talk about all of it. If you see your friend going, maybe distancing, go ask him. God isn't afraid of what the emotions that they're feeling, so let's be in the uncomfortable with him, right? Like Jason said, Jeff sat awkwardly in silence with them. Maybe they'll say something and you're like, heck, I don't know the answer to that, but let's pray and doubt together and the Lord is going to show us. But I want to encourage you to be gentle like Jesus with yourself. These doubts are so normal. I would say anyone that's walked with the Lord for more than 5 minutes has experienced stuff like this. So be gentle with yourself and be gentle with these people that are expressing their doubts. Be gentle. Sit in the awkward. Don't be afraid to say, I don't know. That's okay. That's okay. They don't need you to have all the answers. They need you to sit there with them. So I do have a copy because I know a guy that wrote a book. So I want to encourage you guys to buy this book. Hopefully Jason won't have his whip in the lobby of this. But this book was super helpful for me. The way that they set it up is at the end of each chapters, they have some questions that they're just asking you to consider. A couple of the chapters, it took me like 3 weeks to really process through them. So if this is where you're at, or even if it's not, I would encourage you, jump on Amazon, jump on the publisher, get your copy of this book, and he'll autograph it for you when it comes if you want. But I just want to pray, and I want to invite you today. Maybe you have a friend that's in this place, or you yourself are, to come up and just have someone pray with you, have someone talk with you, have someone be in the awkward silence with you today as we're pushing into this. So God, I just thank you for your faithfulness. Lord, I thank you for how gentle you are. Thank you for just being so good to us. Lord, thank you that you aren't afraid of our doubts, our fears, our emotions. And it's okay. You're okay with where we're at. And just ask as we begin to go different directions today that you would be with us. You would begin to speak to those places that maybe we've been pushing down for so long. That you would just minister to us. Thank you, God, for your faithfulness. And I bless my family as they head out today and talk about this stuff.